Alright, well I'm having some issues with this subcooler on this rack. It's a low temp rack. It's a -10. We got a drop leg temperature of 66.11. Where's my light? So this is the drop leg here. We're reading 64. And I got it right there on the outlet of the subcooler on the load side, the liquid coming from the drop leg across. It feeds the two expansion valves for both stages of subcooling. And I mean, they're cold, but I think they're starving. So 64.3. And the drop leg is 67, so we're barely cooling. And I already checked both sensors. Yeah, 67. So I don't really like the placement of these bulbs, but the way they piped it, I guess that's the best they could fit them in there. I don't know why the equalization to the valves, these little 1/4-inch lines, I don't know why they couldn't have put them in, you know, a little further away and then put the bulbs there in the proper spot. That would have been probably better. So I'm going to isolate the liquid. I don't think these are feeding. They both are calling though. Both of these solenoids, right there and there, they're both calling, they're both open. So we could have a clogged screen. And those nuts there. So I'm going to check that first. I guess first I could really look at the superheat. So if I take my clamp off the bottom here, I don't know if I'm going to fit it. There, actually that fits. Got it there. Somebody put a sticker on there, 62. This is 407, 407A. I think that's around like 35. So, I mean, the suction pressure is a little low, but, you know, we got no superheat, really. Let's see what we got. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, there's superheat right here. 36.2. So, I mean, we'll let that sit on there for a little while. Let it steady out. Let that thermocouple really pick up the right temperature and see where it goes. But I'm probably going to pump this all out and pop them screens out. I had clogged screens up on the roof. Whoever installed the stuff in the store, they didn't purge well, and whoever did remodels didn't purge. So actually, when I got this store, the screen up on the liquid filter, which is on the roof with the condenser, was completely impacted, and it actually tore open. So I got a new core assembly with the new screen. Change that. I've been changing the filters. They actually clogged up again. But I mean, if you just look at the coloring of that discharge line, I mean, it's like blue. I mean, you can even see right where I have the light shining. I mean, that's like, the whole thing is it's been way hot. Way too hot. So, I thought it was originally because of the crappy install. But after I get this subcooler under control, I did notice, I got a call, this is Kaiser. It sucks it won't zoom in. But, where are we at? Discharge. Sucks you can't see it. Discharge, manifold size, and they're talking about the pipe here. It says 1 3/8. Main condenser supply, 1 1/8. And I've never really seen the rack manufacturers pipe it wrong, but I'm starting to think that they did. This is definitely 1 1/8. And this is the manifold. See, it's got a cap here. It's going branching off and feeding the compressor. The compressor discharge is feeding this manifold. So then it loops, goes back on itself, and you have, I think there's 6 compressors on this rack going to the 1 1/8. But that's right, 1 1/8 feeding the condenser. I'm starting to think that's why, you know, I have this discoloration and a hot discharge line. You know, besides the screens being clogged as shit. But I cleared them. You know, these ones, it's another reason why I think these are probably clogged. So I gotta clean them out. I'll let you know what I find. But the superheat, yeah, I mean, we're still at 38.5. So I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes. I'm gonna pump this down. So I'm just gonna take this hose, hook it onto the suction, which is running pretty low. I think it's around like 9 pounds, 12 pounds, 14. So that'll pull most of it out. And then I can pump it down a little more to get the pressure a little lower so I can pop the screens out real quick. I have to check my truck. I should have extra screens. When I pull them out, I like to have a backup in my hand. So if it's real dirty, I just pop a new one in. And then I can clean the other one and save it for the next one that I'll pop out. That way I don't leave the system open and, you know, end up losing that positive pressure. Alright, I pumped it down, I popped one out. I mean, it's packed. It's packed with carbon. Can't see any light through it. So I'm going to clean this one and pop the other one off. There you go. Yeah, that's a little different now. Nice and clean. So I'm going to swap out the other one and clean that other one and leave that for my backup. Can't say I've ever seen this before. Somebody ripped the screen out. So that whole valve probably is dirty. Might be able to, might have to get new orifice and everything. We'll see when we turn it back on. So I fired everything back up. It's still not feeding properly. I popped the cap off the bottom. Ran it. It was, first off, both of them are all the way cranked open. and there was a lot of resistance trying to close it. I ran them in, and there was no stop on either one of them. So I'm gonna rebuild these two to get this subcooler working. One thing I want to check before I go calling Kaiser, I gotta make sure this thing isn't overcharged. I looked at the receiver level on the roof. It said 20% last time, but I brought my torch in. I'm gonna torch the reservoir and see what's actually in there. Alright, so I made a mess here. I peeled back some of the shell. It was all glued, so I had to scrape it off a little bit. But all I did was heat here. Just use a little MAP gas torch, a low temp torch. I heated, started at the bottom here for like a minute, and then carefully, well, if you got the glue there, you don't want to use your bare hand. Wear a glove, and then you just start feeling up. I can feel right here, right at that point. That's the liquid, because as you're heating it, the liquid's going to absorb all the heat, but the gas within the shell in the reservoir is not, so the shell's going to get hot. And I still feel it. Oh, right there is where the temperature, it's a drastic change, night and day. So we're here, we're like 25%. I'll have to come back. It's a little sticky still, so that most of that will go back. I'll have to clean it up better later. That's the least of my worries. And the indicator's not too far off. A little bit, maybe like 5%. So I gotta get those expansion valves in. I'll show you what I'm talking about when I go back. You see the blue line here, the discharge is really hot. All these compressors have a secondary suction port, and that's gonna help cool the heads. Those suction ports actually get piped there, tease out up to the subcooler suction. So if we don't have good superheat cooling our liquid drop leg, feeding the store, we don't have cool vapor coming back to the heads of those compressors. So I'm going to rebuild these valves first before I go and get the engineers involved and have them, because on the nameplate, this manifold, like I said before, is supposed to be 1 3/8. So I think that's part of the issue, but we'll find out once I fix those. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Oh, yeah, so the receiver, the charge is good, it's not overcharged. Alright guys, take care.